I'll let you know if there's any comments on YouTube.
I'm just gonna share it with you. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Buck and 2 MC show. Following our game that we just finished in overtime, Tennessee Lady Vols versus WVU Mountaineers. Big shout out before we get started. Thank you to our sponsors, Orange Mountain Designs, also Tennessee Tap House, and also Blue. What is it, Bobby? I always mess this up.
Blue Water Climate Control.
Blue water climate control, guys. I'm so sorry. Don't fire me yet, okay? But Maria, let's jump right into this because you look just as happy as I do, which is not very right now. What did you gather from the game?
Yeah, I could not possibly cover a season and get high or low with any game. I would never make it to the finish line. So I, I've been running around because I got a lot to do after the game. So I probably look a little harried because dogs are needing out, and at least I don't have to wear a mask though. I can talk. My biggest takeaway from this game is you got to learn how to close out games. And that's, Tennessee came up short in that department. And Kelly said, we talk in practice all the time about how the smallest details matter. A box out, a turnover here, or a stop here. And now she can say, she's got proof. Here's what happens when you don't take care of every detail to close out a game. And she obviously, she said losing stinks. Keegan Green said losing sucks. She was a little more upfront about it.
Right.
But you are far better off going to West Virginia on the road than hosting some team in your third game of the season that you could blow out by 25, 30 points. So is it a tough loss? Yes. I mean, I know the team's not happy. Coaches aren't happy. Fans aren't happy. You, as a West Virginia native, are not happy at all. But, there's a lot of strange scores happening right now. A lot of weird, games are just, you never know when you tip these games up. So it's disappointing, but it's also game 3, and you got to get ready for Furman and then Texas.
Right. I have to agree with you on the attention to detail and the value of possessions. I mean, every possession matters, and once you buy into that, it's kind of hard not to be, number one, a defensive force, but also an offensive threat, and your efficiency should go up because when you're taking care of the basketball, you're looking for the best shot, not your best shot, the team's best shot. So I think that will begin to change. You're right about having to learn how to close out plays, but we missed so many box outs. Even when we were getting rebounds, we weren't boxing out. We were just getting rebounds. And then down the stretch a little bit, I think what WU said, hey, we have a chance here. We're gonna go put everything on the line. And I didn't see that from our Lady Vols in the overtime portion. I saw it to close it out, to come back, to take the lead, to secure the overtime. But number one, I think we could have finished that game in the fourth quarter. And then not coming back with the vengeance in overtime. I don't know, it's kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But outside of that, I think they handled the on the road game fairly well, honestly. They even were attacking. We still shoot a little bit too many threes for me, but if we had some pure 3-point shooters, I'd be like, yes, we need that. But I believe that we still need to go inside out.
I'm calling up the stats now. They won the board battle 56-34. Just absolutely smoked them there. But
box it out.
Yeah, but I'm trying to find offensive rebounds. West Virginia had 10. It seemed like more, to be honest.
Yeah.
But they had a key offensive rebound. I think it was in overtime. And it's not so much when the numbers don't matter so much as when it happens.
Yes.
And you just got to lock down. Turnovers,
Oh my God.
20 to 15 for West Virginia, and several once again were not, they inflicted them on themselves with stepping on the baseline, or a held ball, or traveling. As Kelly said, we got to get our feet right, because those are shots you got to make at the rim without traveling. But
oh yeah,
it's like I said, I'd rather see them play somebody that can give them a game than play somebody that they know they can smoke. And because you don't really learn anything in those games.
They can learn a lot from this if they lock in, take their feelings out of it when it's time to come watch film, and just look at, how do I become a better basketball player? What can I do to help make my teammates' job easier? So if I'm missing box outs, then that's one. If I'm having unforced turnovers, then that's two. If I'm not finishing around the basket or in the paint, then that's three. If I'm not knocking down enough 3-pointers, I need to get in the gym and shoot more. I mean, free throws. There's just so many things that I think it has to have. Each individual needs to take pride in their role, and then that will help transform the team. I mean, they did all right. I mean, I would have probably pressed or tracked at the end of that game towards the fourth quarter. I think we were in like a 2-1-2 or 2-2-1, and I thought it was to trap in the half court, but we weren't trapping. So it's just a couple of things. We just need to be a little more tenacious, and like you say, a little more attentive, and pay attention to all the details, not just the major ones.
Yeah, Kelly's also, and I'm going to add this and then go let my dog out who's driving me crazy. Kelly, will not criticize the officials, but she did mention we couldn't get to the free throw line. Tennessee did not attempt a free throw in the first half, right, despite a game plan being to get the ball inside. For the game, West Virginia took 30 attempts, Tennessee took 15. So this loss is on Tennessee, but those are the kind of things you're going to have to play through. And I think, they're probably getting frustrated when you're getting fouled inside, but you're not getting a call.
Yeah, that's part of playing in away games, though. I mean, we got to be able to step up, finish plays, take care of the ball, know that you're not going to get those calls if anything is in question. Maria just stepped away, guys, so I'm gonna check the comments. Bobby, we got anything on the comment section?
We do on Facebook, several.
All right. All right, read them to me. My computer is not
okay.
Loading.
I'll go ahead and read them. Okay. Olivia Woody says, hey. Denise Tague says, hello. Donna Hairston said they never gave up. Trish Jackson says, got to make the bunnies. Matt Oates said Lex was the best. Olivia Woody said, I went to the game and they were talking better on defense, but still wasn't doing great help D. Donna Hairston said they looked flat-footed. Renee Suter says, hello, ladies. And there was another good one here. Hold on. Marianne Daughtery said, your thoughts on Davis, and do you believe not being able to practice against male practice squad is having an impact?
The male, well, obviously, they practice against men all preseason. Now that school's out, there's probably, if you don't have ones that are local, you're not going to have guys that practice. So I'm not going to attribute this loss to that, because every school's in the same situation right now. Davis just had a rough game, and that's going to happen. I mean, Alexis knows that. You could sometimes just have a game where nothing is working for you. I mean, Renaya is a key player for Tennessee, and just struggled. She struggled from the field. I think she was 0-5 from the arc. She had great looks that Renaya usually puts away, but she just could not get a basket today. And I'm not putting that loss on her. Absolutely not. I mean, there were a lot of things that needed to be better, but when your leading scorer struggles from the field, it puts a lot of pressure on the team, especially on the road. So I know, but Renaya, she can bounce back. There's no question she's got the talent and the ability to bounce back.
Yeah, I think Alexis has some connection problems. I'm going to read another comment till she comes back.
Okay.
They need to learn how to get the ball in the post. What's the use of having post depth if you're not going to use it, said William Wink Smith.
A lot of the West Virginia's defense was taking a lot of the post looks away. And when Tennessee did get it in, sometimes they would get a miss at the rim or a travel or just it was just a frustrating game because when you think, okay, get it inside, there's too many jump shots, then they get it inside and there's a turnover. So it just became sort of a frustrating game. And I mean, credit to the Lady Vols for fighting through that frustration because they had to fight through quite a bit of adversity to come back in that game. They only led that game once in the second quarter for a few seconds, and then in the fourth quarter late. And like we said earlier, just got to put it away once you get that late fourth quarter lead, and that's competitive maturity, and that's a step they've still got to cross.
You back, Lex?
Yes.
Looks like your
I don't know
internet.
I said my internet was unstable.
It's still.
It's still kind of doing something.
Well, you can take over, Maria, and while she
Whatever
gets
I
her
missed.
stuff.
They were asking about if you can hear us, Tennessee not getting the ball inside, and I said at some point West Virginia's defense was doing a very good job of preventing that, and there were a lot of scrums inside without the benefit of any whistles. I mean, it would look like wrestling in there, and then when you do get it inside, if you got a miss at the rim or a travel, then it gets a little frustrating, and then when you're keying so much on the paint, like West Virginia was, those jump shooters are left wide open. And I mean, if you just hit a couple more of those jump shots, and you're leaving with the win. Just the missed shots are what Tennessee's not going to want to watch on film because they had really good looks, just couldn't get them to fall.
Yeah, they had a lot of pretty good looks. They were forcing it inside. Sometimes, yeah, we gotta get in the gym. We gotta put up more shots. I mean, all of our guards or anybody that's shooting that 17-footer and behind needs to put up more shots so that they're comfortable taking it in the games and also obviously become more consistent with it. I was proud of how we played, being this, like you say, the third game, first away game. Not an easy game to play. And also, I don't know. They looked tentative when they first started. Their fire got lit. They were good. We were moving, boxing out, hustling, and things were looking real good on the defensive and offensive end. And then we kind of slowed down, but we know basketball is a game of runs. It's just a matter, like you said, knowing how to close out the games, but also looking at a scoreboard and saying, listen, we need 3 stops, 3 scores, or 4 stops, for whatever it is, saying this is what it's going to take for us to be in position to start to control the momentum of this game. But that, like you say, that comes with maturity. That comes with more games, nerves calming down. First away game, you're not going to get the calls that you're used to getting at home or even in practice. So in away games, it's almost as if you have to learn how to play through all of that. And it's hard mentally to do because, like you say, you're trying to get in a rhythm. It's whistle after whistle, or you're making mistakes. You're missing little chippies. Whatever it is, you start to get in a spirit of defeat. And they got to learn to play through that and just get a little bit more mentally tough, play through that. And we probably would have closed that game out if that was the case.
And that's what they did in that window in the fourth quarter. They got stops and they got scores. And then there was those little hiccups and then that late turnover. And if you're the home team, you better seize that opportunity. If you force that thing to overtime after you were falling, all the momentum is gonna, after you were falling behind in the fourth, all that momentum is gonna shift to you.
Right.
So I mean, I'll give props to West Virginia.
Yeah, they played well
for their game plan and their, guard that just, she lights up everybody. I'll be good. Yeah, she's 20, I think she had 27.
Yeah. And I was like, how many more shots are we going to give this girl? Like,
and one of those, Tamari Key, before she fouled out on one of those 3, she was right there. I mean, and boom. So
you can score. Not much you can do about that. But I mean, you always look back, especially if you don't win the game, like, oh man, we could have did a little more. We could have did a little more, but she was just in the zone this game. I mean, quite a few of her shots were a little bit too open for me, but quite a few of them were also contested, and she was still knocking them down, or she was getting her teammates open, and then they were knocking it down, which obviously makes it harder to help off of players defensively. So, but we got to get used to playing against teams that have a player of that stature and or two or three. So yeah, just some minor adjustments when we get back to Knoxville, and hopefully they keep their heads up, watch film on the bus or on the flight back, and go from there.
That's a big thing. And Jordan Horson spoke to it after the game and said, we hate to lose. The locker, the lot, and they seemed upset, which is what you want. If you're just okay with a loss, I mean, that's a red flag for any team.
Absolutely.
But they seemed upset. Kelly said she liked the huddles. She liked the engagement of the team and how they were talking in the huddles. Obviously, Tennessee has some experienced players on the roster, but they've also got a lot of new kids. Like Kean Green said, coming out of a mid-major,
Yeah.
I see now how physical it is at the Power 5 level. Marta Suarez, Tennessee would have been a lot farther behind in the first quarter if she hadn't crashed all over the glass.
Right.
She's just a freshman. So every possession they're learning, especially the new players. And then you could still see them working out how to play together too. That's definitely still coming. Took Ray Burrell a little while to get cranked up, but boy, did she got cranked up in the fourth quarter. So, but like Kelly will use this as a teaching opportunity of, you can't wait to the fourth quarter. You can't wait to the second half. You've got to take care of business from the get-go.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's a game of runs. I mean, I didn't think any lead. I never felt like Tennessee couldn't come back, and I never felt like the lead Tennessee got was safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true. Well, I did feel in overtime that we weren't going to come back. I was just looking at the momentum swing. I was looking at how plays were being played and lack of execution. But up until that, you're right. I honestly, it's like, we got this. Like, we can come back, just, tighten this up, box out here, do this. We'll be all right. We'll get it together. We got to learn how to make a little bit quicker decisions sometimes, especially in crunch time. Anybody could have made that turnover that Davis made towards the end, but if you're a Tennessee Lady Vol, you can't make those turnovers at that point in time in the game because big time players make big time plays. Pat overemphasized that probably her entire coaching career. So it's deeply ingrained in my head, especially as a guard playing for her, that you don't have the luxury of saying, I made a mistake. No, you don't make those mistakes. Tighten up, think faster, think sooner, pull it back out, whatever it is. And she'll learn. I think that she was trying to be aggressive, what she needed to be. And, just unfortunately stepped out of bounds with that inside foot. I don't think she was aware when I was watching the replay. Her head was kind of down because she actually had, I think it was Green that cut down on the block. And then she had in the far corner, oh man, I don't even know who was in the far corner. Might have been Horston. But she had two options, before stepping out of bounds. And that comes down to experience and more plays, having more plays under your belt, situation type things in practice where they can work on things like that under pressure. But we'll learn. We'll get better.
And for Renaya, she's got all the experience you want. She just had a tough game. And what you want her to do is flush it as quickly as you can, get better, because Renaya gets in the gym. Her work ethic is not in question. She gets up a lot of extra shots. This game is going to bother her, which it should. There's absolutely no way that game should not bother you. The key is what does Renaya do next? And, there's been a lot of talk about her and draft status and where she would go in the WNBA draft. And I think too, I don't know that it's anything she's seen, but you got to, if it is, put that way off to the side. Don't even pay attention to that right now. And just she's not going to have many games like this. It's just not going to happen. So it's unfortunate that it happened today, but
At least it wasn't in the middle of a tournament run or in the tournament.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? God knows I have my share of bad games, so I get it. That's why I say I'm not too worried. I think she made the right decision. We just didn't get the outcome needed, and that could have been multiple things. That could have been changed to make that a possession that we actually benefited from. And you say, what does she do from here? Exactly what you said the first time. Forget this game and move on. Let it push you. Let it motivate you. As far as that WNBA stuff, I advise any and all collegiate players that you got to block that out. You're still playing. You're still in the middle of a season. If anything, if you are going to listen to it, let that energize you to play the best that you can play every single game. Be the best that you can be every single practice. And I know we tell athletes that period, but if you're worried about your stock in the draft, you got to be someone that they want on the court on both ends, not situations. So you just got to keep tightening up your game and keep becoming an overall player. And again, we'll be all right. I'm mad, but I'm not like embarrassed or ashamed or you know what I mean. I'm mad because we lost, but how we lost, yeah, some things we still got to tighten up a lot, but I think we'll be okay. Come Texas, I'm not as worried. Now, we'll talk after this Furman game, but right now, I'm not as worried about us playing in Texas.
And the officials, I usually give the officials a hard time. I just always have. I'm going to try to be nice in a pandemic because they're going through everything the players are going through. They have to go through the protocol testing. They have to travel at a time where traveling is not something I would want to do. So I'm going to work my hardest to be nice to them this season.
I'm proud of you.
They got to get in game shape too. They called 51 fouls in this game. That's more fouls than minutes played. 24 on Tennessee, 17 on West Virginia. I'd make sure my math is right. That's too many whistles.
They were tired, so they were blowing the whistle.
That's way too many foul calls. I mean, especially with the bigs. Let the bigs be bigs in there.
Yeah, let them play.
But Kelly pointed out she liked the huddles. She liked that they were competitive because this has been a kind of a quiet team, and she liked that they found their voice, got competitive. She said we got to execute better, and then she said, what anybody would say after that, you got to hit shots. It's a simple game, really. This is not a complicated. Some of the sets and where you have to be are complicated, but what it boils down to is you got to hit a shot. Hit shots in a basketball game, and Tennessee could not hit enough shots.
I agree with that, and she's doing a great job of building their confidence as well as their play together. So it's only a matter of time. I hope we peak during the Texas game. To be honest with you, take this as a learning curve. This loss, watch film, and I'm not talking about just watch film with Coach Harper when it's time before practice. Get with your coach, post coach, guard coach, or Coach Kelly, and say, hey, listen, can you break down my minutes over here? I need to see, why do I feel like my shots aren't easy, or I'm forcing them, or I can't find the open person, or I'm losing my man defensively, whatever it is. Because most of the time as a player, you kind of know what you're always getting yelled at about. So go in there and consider that your homework, or ask them to send it to you or whatnot. But I think once that starts happening and people start buying into, it's going to take more work as far as the IQ of the game. Because if like you said, you're not questioning their work ethic. So we have to just build them stronger mentally.
Yes, I agree 100% with all of that. And Kelly publicly will be, whatever issue she has with a player from a game performance, that will be taken up in the locker room. She's not going to, and she knows she needs that player. One interesting observation Kelly made when she was at Missouri State is that she felt really good going into conference play. And that team had several losses. She said, because I felt like we were getting better from those losses. And that's a team she ended up taking to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. So Kelly said, I'd much rather teach on the bus going home after a win, but I'm going to teach after a loss. And that's what she's got to do. And like I'll emphasize it again, you are far better off going to West Virginia and going to Texas than you are hosting a team in a 200, 300 SOS team at home. You don't learn anything. I mean, you have to in some cases because you got to fill some home slots. You just have to. But you fill up your non-conference schedule with that and you don't learn anything. You are not ready for the SEC at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. You have to play somebody to get better. Because it's easy to look inferior to. I mean, it's easier to look great against an inferior team. So, um, I think that we're good on that. Bob, what we got, man?
Got several comments. I'll go through them one by one. William Wink Smith says Ray has more of a killer instinct. Ray needs to get to the line, and if her shot's not falling, Ray did a great job of doing that. And Juan Gutierrez says shooting stats for Davis and Burrell 4 for 19 and 5 for 13. Tough to win when your top scorers have these kinds of stats. 1 for 10 from the 3-point line, and these two players.
Yeah.
Donna Mink says, how about Ray Burrell in the fourth quarter getting to the free throw line? Great game for her.
Yeah, she ended up. How many free throws did she shoot? She
ended up shooting 8. She made 7. I think her miss came in the first half. I'd have to look it up, but in crunch time she hit them, and that's huge. That's when the pressure's on.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, efficient wise, them going 5 for 13, Burrell 5 for 13, and Davis 4 for 19, and like they said, 1 for 10 from behind the arc. I mean, there's a lot of factors that come into that. I'm not making excuses, but like Maria said, you're on the road. There's a lot of whistles being blown, which means you don't really get into a good flow or momentum. And then today we just weren't making shots, and that's going to happen. But we got to do other things to compensate for us not being able to make those shots on those particular game days.
And shout out to Jordan Horston again. 6 of 12. 5 rebounds, 13 points, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 3 steals.
She played well today. Very well.
And I like it when I call it the double Jordans. That can be a very effective lineup. I realize you don't always want, both your point guards on the floor at the same time, but that can be a very effective lineup. And Jordan Walker is another one who's learning, who's come out of mid-major and coming to Power 5, and she's got to adjust to new teammates, new teams, it is, and that game wasn't half as physical as the SEC is going to be. I mean, the SEC, it's just a brawl, an absolute brawl every game.
Oh, yeah. Everybody wants to bring the pain. Everybody wants to send a message. Everybody wants to be the team in the SEC, so.
All right, we got a couple more questions. Compliment on YouTube said this show is so good for young ladies that play b-ball. Thank you, Herbert Bradford from Michigan. And then we've got Deronda Fletcher. I think she's up there in West Virginia, isn't she? I feel like we beat ourselves, she said, with some forced shots and turnovers. Learning experience. No one likes to lose games. They'll learn and move forward.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, in every game there's going to be forced shots because as players – you see something that may or may not be open or shots that you practice, and then all of a sudden somebody comes up and contests. There's always going to be 4 shots, throughout the game. You don't want that to be the entire game, but every player is going to force up, 1 or 2 or 3 shots throughout that 40 minutes. Easy.
And sometimes Tennessee was too unselfish. I mean, at some point.
Oh my gosh, when they was playing hot potato in the middle of the paint.
Yeah, go on up with the ball. I mean, I appreciate you wanting to share. Go ahead and take that shot. That's yours. Go ahead.
I can't remember if it was Davis or Horston, and it was the second half. She came out of that spin move and she wanted to drop it, but it was a flat pass. I said, ain't no way I'll make a spin move in the paint and I'm not shooting the ball. No way. Not deep in the paint. No.
If the move is that pretty, you got to take the shot, even if you don't finish it. I mean, the move itself will remember, and then you'll make it next time. But
created the space. It was a really nice move, and I was like, oh man, I was excited. Then I was like, dang. But those are things that come with more experience, more time, more games. realizing that you do have to capitalize on every opportunity you have. And that time would have been her time to shoot that ball instead of dunk. Or a simple lob pass, but you would have had to throw it over the defense and drop it literally corner of the backboard so that only our player can get it. But hard pass to just quickly think of and do.
It's a hard game too when there's that many whistles. I mean, Tamari Key ended up fouling out. Horston had, let's see, 4.
Or
Davis had 4. That affects how you play.
Yep, and they had a couple that got out too.
That can affect a team. Now, I mean, West Virginia had a key player foul out. Yeah. So
Martinez, when she fouled out, Maria, I said, oh yes, okay, we got this, because she was getting her hands on a lot of those loose balls, keeping the the rebounds active for them or giving them extra possessions. And when she fouled out, I was like, that's what we needed. Let's go inside, let's execute when because they're coming, kick it out, knock down shots, but didn't quite go that way.
Ray Burrell did get to the paint. That was mentioned before. She realized, okay, the paint's going to be a little more friendly right now, and she got there. But just that you need that killer instinct at the end, and if you're going to show that killer instinct, I'd rather see it in March than December. But you gotta build it to that point. Once they got that lead, that's when that killer instinct has to absolutely kick in. And we are not losing this game.
Yeah.
But
somebody,
that's easy for me to say sitting here at home.
And it's easy for me to say to being retired. So we're not out there doing it. We're not in the middle of their game. But they'll be okay. Communication will go up. I think Olivia said on here that they sounded a little better. Our help defense was really slow today. We get kind of glued to our men sometimes, or our women on the court, and we don't see the drive coming. Instead of continuing out with the player who's going away from the basket, stop, be ready to help, and then if you have to, sprint to close out if they do kick it out. But again, they're still learning. They're relatively new to each other. This whole COVID thing is definitely new for them, and how the season is being played. And it's a lot. People are dealing with injuries. People are dealing with mental health issues. People are dealing with family or personal issues. And it's hard to tell kids who are 18 to 21 years old, leave that off the court. It's hard for professional athletes to do so, let alone, college kids who are just trying to adapt. So I want to give a special shout out to to my little baby ball sisters. Stay strong, stay positive, stay focused. Just stay together. Realize that the only thing that y'all should want to do besides get better together is win together. And I'm not talking about some games. I'm talking about win everything. So I hope that
I'm looking over at minutes played too. Tennessee's in good shape. Horston went 33, Davis went 41, Burrell went 36, Kean went 31, and that was an up and down game at times too, in a physical game. So
it was close. It was a good game to watch. Frustrating at times, but I thought it was a pretty good game to watch.
Yeah, if you're a basketball fan, that was a lot of fun. That's because if Tennessee had gone up there and played with the approach that it took to ETSU, they could have been walking home with a 20-point loss. But they, like you said, little too tentative to start. But that's a big environment, or not big in terms of crowd, but it's a whole new process. Mm-hmm. And it looked like it took them a minute to really get their feet underneath them. But I do wonder if the starting lineup will shift up a little bit. It's going to be hard to keep Horston out of it, and if she's not in it, you want her in fast.
Right. I think that's obvious that Coach Harper will play around with her lineup. She has to. It's so early in the season and so many new pieces. I don't know. I just think there's going to be a couple more rotations before there's a definitive starting 5.
And one thing I learned from watching Pat's practice is, fans have a lot of opinions about who would start, who should do this. And like me, you're basing it on seeing this game. You don't know what's happening in film and meetings and practice, any of that. I know Kelly does quizzes at the pregame meal and from the scouting report. And if you don't get your question right, you basically just let the head coach know you didn't pay attention to the scouting report.
Yeah.
So sometimes when players, and there can also be physical issues that we don't know about that can interfere with the player's minutes, and that's always a wild card. But
Right.
this is one where you don't have enough information to set a starting lineup unless you're at practice and in the film room and in the team meetings, and that's always been my position in terms of when people say, well, why does she start or why doesn't she start? I'm like, I don't have the information. I don't see this team every day.
Yeah.
I don't bring them in my office for a film session, ask them to break it down and hear what they say. Fans are going to fan, and God bless them. Let them be fans, but you just don't have the info you need to make the decisions unless you're in the program.
100% agree with that, Maria. 100% agree. I hope y'all heard that, fans. We love y'all. We love your opinions. But you got to realize, unless you're seeing everything that the coaches are seeing and asking for, are the players doing it? Are they not doing it? Are they good at it? Are they not good at it? Whatever it is, every coach has a hard job, especially the head coach. You literally have to find the proper pieces of the puzzle, and you have to make them fit. And then your backup puzzle has to be well too. So you're not putting together just one puzzle and get a final piece. Who's your sub? Who's your sixth, seventh, eighth man? What are your rotations? If you're playing against a run and gun team, who are you looking to play versus if it was more of a half court setup team? So there's a lot of factors that go into that. So keep all the positivity, send all the love, keep watching the games. It's important, but stop trying to coach. Right?
You know what Pat Summitt said? Coaches who start listening to fans usually end up sitting next to them.
Oh, I believe. Well said, Coach. Well said. We got anything else on YouTube or Facebook before we start to kind of wrap it up, Bobby?
Yeah, there's a couple of questions. Kristen Spencer Cook said the officials were whistle happy, but she had a question. She also said Burrell is balling this season. She said, what's the biggest issue we need to focus on for Texas?
I think Maria nailed him on the head. Taking care of the basketball, boxing out. If we can do that, we're okay. Our defense, it was a little better today.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to be able to finish those possessions and turn it into an offensive transition, or at least us getting an extra possession on offense. And then when we get that possession, taking care and finishing plays.
Yeah, just and it's not just ball security. It's some of the head scratching turnovers. You just. And some of that's a little bit poise, and some of that's a little bit getting too jumpy when you get the ball. But start clean those up, especially against Texas, because like Alexis knows, you lose possessions. I mean, and you can preach all the time about every possession matters, but sometimes kids don't realize it until you think, man, what if I had that possession back or that possession back? What would the outcome of this game have been? So coaches aren't just, that's not just coach speak when they say every possession matters. From the opening tip to the final buzzer, they are not kidding.
Yep.
And you're going to make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing anything. You could run up and down the court and never make a mistake, but that's probably because you're not doing a thing on either end. You're going to make mistakes. That's going to happen, especially in a fast-paced game those are athletes on the floor. These are D1 athletes. That's a select group of people that can play this game at a high level. So right. It's going to happen, but I like the fight they had, because every time they got within 1, 2, 3 points, West Virginia, bam, hit a shot.
Yeah. And
that can deflate a team. That can be like, God, no matter what we do, we're not getting over that hump. But they kept pushing and kept pushing. So I'll give them that. They could have caved in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Facts. What else, Bobby?
Just a lot of compliments on the show. Renee Suter says loves the post-game info. Marianne Daugherty, absolutely fans should not second guess what players a coach decides to play. And Jessica Gwynn says, FYI, great show and love the insight. I really believe in what Kelly is doing. And Kristen also loves the Pat quote.
Absolutely. Maria, before we start to wrap anything up, you have any closing words, any insights, any advice for our fans or the team?
I just agree with what Kelly said. The smallest details matter. I mean, this game was lost on tiny details, and you got to clean those up. And the good thing is, Kelly can point out exactly what she's talking about now. This is what I meant in practice when I said we have to take care of this and do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't do that, you lose a game you could have won. And I have, people get tired of me preaching patience, but that is still my key word. Kelly's in her second season. She is working with a lot of players that she has to try to get what she can out of them and do what she can with them, but also build the system of basketball that she wants to play. And everybody's doing it in a pandemic. It's just a very odd season. We saw that with South Carolina losing to North Carolina State at home, which is a very unusual loss. And then they bounced back. And then they bounced back today. So you're going to see some unusual scores in December. You're going to see teams that you don't expect to struggle who will struggle, and you're going to see a lot of parity in December, and that's what we're seeing now. And based on what I'm seeing out of the SEC, SEC is going to be an absolute dogfight all season long.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Y'all, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Maria, thank you, of course, for all of your insight from the media perspective and just your years and knowledge of following the Lady Vols and knowing what we need, when we need it, and how we can get there. So, excuse me, we hope everybody continues to watch. And again, thank you to our sponsors, Orange Mountain Designs, Tennessee Tap House, and Blue Water. We appreciate you. We love you. Bobby, volunteerroadshow.com. We definitely love you, my man, and definitely thank y'all. Make sure to press those like buttons, press the thumb up, follow us, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. All right, I'm logging into volunteerroadshow.com for information just about the platform and the people that are working, which are a lot of former Lady Vols involved. So I think that's pretty cool what they're doing there. Maria, you want to let them know when the next game is? And
yeah, and I'll point out too, Orange Mountain Designs has $6.95 shipping today. So you still got time. It's almost 6 o'clock. You still got time to shop. You can load up that basket and pay a flat shipping rate. Next game, they've added a game to make up for Florida A&M canceling their whole season. Furman will be here. That's from nearby Greenville, South Carolina. The Paladins, they will be here Thursday at 7 o'clock at Thompson Bowling Arena. So we'll be with you late night again. Then obviously the Lady Vols, I think they're still getting through exams, so they're still in that study part of the week too. And then they'll head to Texas, and that'll be another big game. That one will be on national television too. Not this one was ESPN Plus, which you have to pay for. But that once again, we said Tuesday, Tennessee's going to find out a lot about itself in these West Virginia and Texas games. And for Furman, I'd like to see just Tennessee get its groove back shooting. Just get a little more comfortable with their shots, come off a good offensive performance, and then head to Texas. And because Texas is a load, man. Charlie Collier,
yeah,
she can be draft eligible, and I mean she could go number one. That Tennessee recruited her hard, and she's doing what you expect. Her junior year is when you're really seeing what she could be.
Right.
Which, I'm back to my patience theme. Jordan Horston is a sophomore. Tamari Key is a sophomore. Give them time. Get every game for them. They're going to get better bit by bit. I'm trying to imagine those two as juniors, and that's when your game just elevates. I mean, look what y'all did when you became juniors. You grew up, for one thing. You started to realize all those little high school petty things y'all do. You put that you outgrow those. You're like, man, this is dumb.
Yeah.
And y'all became mature players and mature young women and you ran off 2 national championships. So
That's facts. You mean
hang in there, fans. It's coming.
Grown when we first came? We weren't grown and mature when we first hit campus as freshmen?
No, not one bit. That's my favorite part of covering the Lady Vols is watching y'all grow up because, y'all were, no, you were, and I'm thinking back to my 18, 19-year-old self. Oh, goodness. What a hot mess I was.
Yeah. That might have
You
been
just have to, you and Candace and Nikki had to figure out how to even like each other. You know, that's high school stuff. But
Yeah,
and then
true.
you start putting it behind you.
That's true. That did occur. We ended up handling our business and pulling it together. And I love both of them, and I still get on both of their nerves. And Nikki and CP still argue, as you saw on your show, Positive Lady Dog.
Yes, they argued for 10 minutes over a one-on-one basketball game. 12 years after it happened.
Oh man, classic. But thank y'all again for tuning in. Let's make sure we say a prayer for Sam, Bobby's son. He has surgery coming up. He's at St. Jude's. So everybody, make sure you say a prayer. Hop on Volunteer Roadshow. Donate Sam Strong, and also whenever you purchase anything, any merchandise, portion of that also goes towards Sam Strong. So, Bobby, we thank you, and we are definitely sending prayers your way.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Bobby. Everybody, please think of Bobby.
He's going to kick his butt. But I'm going to tell you something right now. If I was make a spin move in the paint, let me tell you something. What I'd do in my prime, I'd be called for traveling. That's what would happen.
If I made a spin move in the paint, I'd get dizzy and fall down. I'd be like, "What just happened up here?"
Hey, that was my move. They used to make fun of me. Said when Lex does a spin, her arm is already coming into the shot before she's even facing the back because I'm shooting it. What do you mean?
That's a lot of work to not shoot the ball.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, y'all. Until next time, Ball Nation, we love y'all. Thank you for watching.
See you Thursday, guys.